Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So I've been wanting to talk to you about this for about a week or so now. I guess since Thursday, right? FedEx came out and said we're on the cusp of a worldwide recession. There's debate about how much is macro versus micro, but really led me to believe, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as somebody who teaches and coaches people around the world, I just wanted to ask, right now I think it's pretty clear the United States economy is the strongest economy in the world. You can argue, are we in or not in a recession? That's not the debate. We are the strongest economy today. But I think it's very clear that Europe's headed for a rough winter. I think the Chinese economy is in much worse shape than they are letting on. And I just had to ask, with I don't know, 2/3 of the largest economies kind of in tatters, does that mean it has to end up on the United? Like, do we get pulled into a worldwide recession? Are we big enough, strong enough to kind of potentially have a soft landing and not enter one? What do you think? What do you think? Worldwide recession or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. So the 2008, 2009 financial crisis was a global thing because of the leverage and liquidity,
We were
reverberation.
so interconnected. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and we are a globalized economy. So, depending on what would happen. So China has a lot of risks right now. Their real estate market's
Well,
collapsing. They've got the COVID issues they're still dealing with, and we've seen the effects of that. So our prices are up because we can't get goods. We can't get goods
mm-hmm.
from overseas. Europe's big issue now is energy, and with Putin and his plan to freeze Europe and cut them off from heating gas and oil for the winter time is going to create some issues over there, which obviously puts pressure on the oil markets, which creates problems for us. I know a lot of people are calling for $60 a barrel oil, which is around 80 something right now. But there's other people that are calling for $150 barrel oil because of what's going on as we get close to the fall and winter over there, and what's happening with energy markets around the world. And you have China, doing the deals with Russia, buying up that, reserve oil from them when the rest of the markets aren't. So, I mean, that's the biggest problem with this country is we rely too much on foreign energy, foreign oil, things like that we're at risk because of that. We've seen what gas prices, what oil prices will do to this country. I mean, you get back to $5, $6, $7 a gallon in gas. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on this economy in this country. So that's your biggest risk right there. Then obviously geopolitical. If, we heard Biden, the other day talking about his views on what we would do if China were to invade Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
And if we end up in another conflict there, and then, God forbid, a global escalation across the board because of that and because of Russia, and all of a sudden you've got World War III going on, not nuclear necessarily, but just at war, multiple countries at war, and we have to, fight on multiple fronts. That puts a lot of pressure on the economy, resources, creates inflation because we have to create, things to be able to fight with, which is what we're facing now, having to replenish the stuff that we've given Ukraine and other countries. That's going to continue to put pressure on prices and things like that. So, it's a complicated, big thing. And I'll tell you who's got some really good info on that is Ray Dalio, with his New World Order. There's some stuff on YouTube. He's got a fantastic presentation on that, on how the world works and how we're globally, intertwined in the world order, and the things that are playing out right now in front of us, how that will affect that. So it's very fascinating. The one thing that we don't have to worry about is ever being replaced as a reserve currency or the leader of the free world, because a republic like China, you just can't do it. When you've got somebody like that, that's just with the policies that individual has, and Russia's, they're a blip anyways. Their economy's not big enough to do anything, but you just can't be a leader when you just are trying to take over everybody else's territory and shut down your own economy and create, problems for your own companies and your own, markets in your own country, like real estate, things like that. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, some articles I read about China this week and really showed me that they are either in an official recession or one is coming, and that was the consumers, right? The Chinese consumers, right? My wife is from Taiwan. I have been to China proper several times, and let's just say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, the middle class in China was all about about luxury goods. It was their thing, right? They were flashing wealth, stuff. Well, what you see going on now, because of lockdowns, uh, because of all the testing, because of the housing collapse, because of loss of faith, just bank runs. It's just all kinds of, like I think you said it first, right? They shot themselves in the foot and they reloaded the gun and they're shooting themselves again. You're seeing the Chinese consumer who used to be that engine for Louis Vuitton, that engine for, LV bags and just all of these things. They're pulling back. It's now cool to be frugal. The Chinese influencers now are showing how they can make a fancy meal for $1. It's no
Yeah, well,
longer
they don't
look at
have
my
any choice, and when I talk about this, I'm talking about Xi, in
yeah,
that
yeah,
regime. I'm not talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
the Chinese
No,
people.
no.
I'm
Xi.
talking about that one man and his insecurities, just like Putin, and what he's done to his own people. And he's created single-handedly all these problems for his people, shutting his companies down,
Yeah.
arresting anybody who does anything good or speaks out against what they're doing, locking the place down. And I mean, it's just nuts what's going on over there.
Still doing it too. It's crazy. They just locked down 30 million people or 32 million people. And I've known this for a while. This is just the clearest example. When the consumer gets scared, they save, they retreat, they don't do anything. And that is what's happening in China now. And that's going to have ripples. It'll first hit the luxury. There are companies like Louis Vuitton or LV, whatever, these high-end stuff. They're gonna see just dramatic collapses in demand. If the Chinese aren't buying, that's got to be half their demand. It's just going to be hard.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, the real estate situation was interesting too, because they created that mess
They
by
did.
building so much excess inventory, and they weren't letting people buy more than like one property. Then they opened it up and forced people to buy properties, and now they're not making payments. They boycotted that.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And I heard or saw some stuff over the weekend. Can't remember what country it was, but people going in and robbing banks to get their own money out.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if it was, I can't remember where that was, but yeah, there's some serious situations going on out there where, people are rising up because of what's going on. And, we got to be careful in this country too. That's why the Fed has to act. That's why they can't back off, because they will have people, rising up in the streets if they can't afford to feed their families.
Yeah, I think there's two more things since I got you I want to talk about. I'll throw in here at the end of the video, and you can pick whichever one you want to go to first. One is the strong dollar, right? As the Fed gets aggressive, the dollar is stronger. It really, really hurts emerging markets who typically have their debt dollarized versus local currencies. And then QT, right? I think QT just started ramping up in September. We're going to see the first kind of report of that at the end of September. QT makes me very nervous because we tried it once before and it caused some surprises. So what do you think? QT, strong dollar, which one do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, we can hit both, but strong dollar, obviously, that's putting pressure on emerging markets that trade in dollars, because the dollar's worth more, their stuff's worth less. It also puts pressure on companies that are doing business abroad that have to convert back into US dollar.
FX or currency charges,
Yeah. So that's a big issue out there, and there's really nothing we can do about it right now, because people want dollars when you have world recession fears, world depression fears. They want to get dollars because dollars is what they can buy more goods and services with abroad. There's more power in the dollar. And that's why I say, the reserve currency status of the United States is not something that's going to be replaced anytime soon, because like you said, we're the world's largest economy. Regardless of the polarization that's going on right now, we're still a democracy. It still works. We're still ruled by law. And, that's just the way it is. And that's why people are flocking into the dollar, because it's a safe play, king dollar. And,
they're going to come more and more, right? The Fed, 10-year treasury hit 3.5 today, right? The cycle peak. And if rates keep going up, that's going to just be more and more foreign capital coming to US shores, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think about QT, right? QT makes me nervous. We've tried it once in 2018, kind of led to some surprises. The balance sheet's what, 9 trillion now, so it's I don't know, 4 or 5x bigger than it was then. This QT thing's freaking me out, but maybe not.
A few trillion here, a few trillion there, and you got some real money.
You got some real money.
Yeah. So we have this battle, right? So we have the Fed on the one hand tightening, wanting to tighten, financial conditions. monetary policy, things like that. And then on the other hand, you have the government with fiscal policy, and they're still spending. This Inflation Reduction Act. Okay.
Yeah.
Inflation
Cute name.
They're spending. That doesn't reduce inflation.
Yeah.
So, that's money. Anytime the government spends, that's money pumped into the economy that goes into the pockets of people, which creates inflation. The Fed's trying to suck that out. And one of the ways that they're doing that is through, raising rates, obviously, which destroys demand, but then QT. So reducing that balance sheet and, trying to bring that back into check. And the biggest argument out there right now is, well, how are we going to service our debt if we're unloading the balance sheet, which is mostly treasuries, mortgage-backed securities, things like that. Rates keep going higher. How are we going to be able to afford to pay the debt? Nobody's provided a good answer to that other than you just print.
Yeah.
And,
they own the printer and the ink.
Right. And, so yeah, they've started. So the real question is, and there's some articles starting to surface out there, what happens when nobody wants to buy our debt anymore? But, countries are still buying debt, obviously.
Yeah,
China,
it may prove to be fortuitous timing, right? We just talked earlier about the strong dollar and rates going up. They may be unloading their balance sheet into a market of willing buyers. They might, right? If Europe's in a recession or heaven forbid a depression and China's in trouble. I mean, I read an article, I think it was late last week, the Chinese actually increased their treasuries for the first time in 2.5 years. Now, it wasn't a lot, but it was.
The other market that now is going to come under serious pressure with rates where they are is the commercial real estate market. Because that's what they measure the investment decision on. I can go over here and buy commercial real estate at 3.5, 4 cap
or get
risk.
Yeah.
Or I can buy treasuries at now 3.5 to 4% real yield, zero risk.
And no taxes, I think. No, is it treasuries, no taxes, or do I have that wrong?
Treasuries, well,
no state taxes, I think,
on your gains.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
I mean, it's a gain like anything else. Yeah. So at the end of the day, but we're not taxing unrealized gains yet.
Right.
Yet. But anyways, the 2 year is almost 4% now. So I mean, when you start looking at investors, I mean that options. That's why. And see, remember, treasuries are inverse, right? So as people come in and buy treasuries, the price goes down, yields go up. As the price of bonds go up, yields go down. So it's an interesting,
interesting world.
Yeah, and it's all about yield. So investors are weighing yield, and you've got sovereign wealth funds, you've got meaning countries, you've got institutional funds like life insurance, endowments, things like that.
Yeah.
So now they're all flooding into treasuries because of that yield spread. Yeah. That's why risk assets, Bitcoin, stocks, crypto, all those things are trading down now. Real estate's the next to come under attack, even with just single family rental homes. You can earn more money now in a 2 year than you can to try to buy a house at this price and rent it out year round. You can, obviously it depends on where you're at, and a lot of different variables now, but with interest rates where they are, it's more attractive to buy bonds.
Yeah, it's crazy. We are in very interesting times. I'm so lucky to speak with you every Monday. Where can people find you?
GregDickerson.com. That's where all my info lives. Go check it out.
Yep. And do me a favor, folks. He has an amazing playlist. You go back several years and see what we've talked about. He's so authentic and has been helping us for so long. So thank you for everything, Greg.
Yeah, man.